welcome back. The Gauntlet rolls on, and again, very special Gauntlet this year, as this is the last group of reviews I'll be doing from Tennessee. Hoping to have a special guest reviewer with me a little bit later this week. So let's talk about this film, because this is one that I saw trailers for. It was one of those that was out for only like a week, and I missed it, and then finally was available on streaming, and I was so excited because just from the trailers, this looked like the type of film I have not seen in a really long time, and I was very, very excited for it, because sometimes, and I mention this a lot in the course of this show, one of the thrills about doing this is that you will come across films that you don't normally watch, or that you wouldn't have a reason to watch. And the closest film I can think of to compare this one to is a few years ago, they did a new Nancy Drew film, which was completely and utterly delightful. And just very warm and enjoyable and fun, and of course they didn't promote it, so it bombed, so they're not going to do any more of them, which is very, very depressing to me, because it was a very fun film, and this movie gives me a lot of those same vibes. This is just a very warm, enjoyable, relaxing family drama, I guess would be the best way to put it, because I wouldn't necessarily call it a comedy, but it's a family film. It's very reminiscent to me of the type of family films that Disney used to do back in the 80s and 90s. Things like Tuck Everlasting or Newsies, White Fang, where it is made for a family audience, but it's not the only term I can think of, and I'm sorry because I know a lot of people like these movies, they're not pandering or insulting. You know, a lot of family entertainment now are films that, there's got to be a lot of slapstick, and there's got to be, fart humor, because the little children are going to get bored if someone doesn't land face down in a pile of shit, within the first 10 minutes. And this is a film that I feel has a lot of respect for all members of its audience, dealing with some interesting historical facts, and also trying a little clumsily, I think, to try to blend in some modern day issues. And I think it does about as good as the job as you could hope for it to do. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk a little bit about what this film is about, because odds are you haven't heard it. So The Railway Children, or The Railway Children Return, depending on which version of the film you're seeing. If it was in England, I believe it's The Railway Children Return, and here it's The Railway Children. And I believe it's based on a popular book series about the incident towards the middle and end of World War II, where many of the parents who lived in London had sent their children to the country to get them away from the Blitz. So this film follows 3 kids, siblings, as they're taken in by the kind governess of the local school in the country. They strike up a friendship with her son, and they're playing around, having adventures, and they come across, in an abandoned railway car, which they use as a secret hideout, they come across a young black American soldier who is a deserter because of the bullying and racism in the American armed forces, and he lied about his age to get into the army, and now he's trying to get away. And the kids are trying to help him get back home and avoid the military police. So right away you see, again, kind of what I was talking about initially. So it tries to blend some historical fact, the Exodus, the removing of the children, with some more modern day issues, racism within the ranks, trying, I think, not so much to expose the underbelly of anything, but trying to kind of say, the image we have of World War II is that everybody's together and everybody's fighting Hitler and yay us. And the truth is that even though, generally that's what was going on, that didn't mean that all other prejudices and social issues went away. They were still rampant. And I feel like the film is trying to handle that in as clever a way as it can. I feel like their handling of the issues are a little clunky at times, and it feels, I don't know, it feels a little unnatural. But again, that could be because I'm so used to war movies where everything's hip hip hooray kind of thing. But honestly, that's kind of the only major quibble I have with this film. Generally, I find this just a delightful picture. I had a very relaxing time watching it, and sometimes that's what you need, a nice relaxing film. And that's especially noteworthy when you consider this is a film that is made up generally of young actors. This is a movie that is designed for a young cast. And the young cast does a phenomenal job. These kids are really, really good. And I think part of that, you can attribute some of that to the writing, because the writing doesn't have them do cliche kid things, give a smart aleck remark to everything, or or try to have the kids be wiser beyond their years. This is one of the rare films that feels like the young characters in it are actually young characters and not some 40-year-old's interpretation of what young characters sound like or talk like. Maybe because it's a period piece, that's a little easier for them, but the ending result is the same. The kid actors are doing a tremendous job, and the characters feel very real, very grounded, honest. And they all do a great job. I have to give special note to Bo Gadsden, who plays the oldest of the three siblings. She's kind of the leader of the movie. I wouldn't say she's the star, but she's definitely the leader. She's the ringleader of the kids, and she kind of is the one who is attempting to get to galvanize them to get this kid out of trouble and all of that. So I wouldn't say that the film rests on her, but she does get the lion's share of the work, and she does a really, really tremendous job. So, looking at her IMDb page, she's made a living so far playing younger versions of characters. She was young Jen in Rogue One. She was one of the young princesses in The Crown. She's played the young version of characters. So I'm glad that she got this opportunity to kind of, again, if not be the lead, be the leader of a film. And again, the rest of the cast does a tremendous job, and they're backed up by some strong adult actors. Kind of the biggest name in this one for me is John Bradley, who's been everywhere in films this year for me. And I'll say what I said before. I think it's time John Bradley gets his own starring role in a real movie, not like Moonfall. I think John Bradley needs to do a romantic comedy. The guy is just so bloody charming. And again, if they ever made a biopic of me, I'd want John Bradley to play me with the accent. But the cast is just lovely, and it's a lovely film to look at. It's the gorgeous English countryside. I don't know, you feel very, very free watching it. This is the kind of movie that you almost wish they could have released during quarantine, because you can just put it on and look at it on the screen and just feel like you're running out in a field. I also think that one of the other strengths of this film is, I mentioned that it was a little clunky what it tried to do, but it also doesn't try to shy away from the ugliness of the war or of life in general. Everybody has suffered a loss in the film, and they're all trying to deal with that in their own way. And there's this wonderful scene where one of our young characters, who is feeling very conflicted about everything that's going on, has a talk with his uncle, and he says, you know, all my life everything's been beautiful, but the world is really ugly, and it's an ugly place, and all this ugly stuff happens, and why do we even bother? And the uncle tells him, it's like, that's not true. Yes, ugly stuff happens, but if you don't fight against the ugly stuff, be that Hitler or racism or anything evil or ugly, then the ugliness does take over and the world does become ugly. You have to rebel against the ugliness and know that ugliness is out there, but not let it win. And I think it does it in such a way that I think it's not pandering, it's not talking down to a predominantly young audience. It's just a really well written and well acted scene, and I really appreciated that. I also appreciate that the way the conflict is finally resolved, it feels, in other kids' films, the way it would be resolved would be through some wacky, overcomplicated scheme that these kids pull off, and all the bumbling adults trip over themselves, and the kids are like, hooray! And what I like about this film is they kind of try to do that towards the climax. It's not an overly complicated Home Alone type plot, but they try to have we're going to do this and this and this, and that plan fucking fails. It fails. They get caught. It leads to the all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment.
And the plan that finally does work is one that is a lot more innocent, and one that you can see a group of kids actually getting together and kind of pulling off. Little bit. It stretches the disbelief a little, but not bad. But I liked that. I liked that they didn't just say, all the adults in this universe are idiots and these kids are going to outsmart them. It's like, no, this didn't work, and they had to kind of go a different route and find a way to make it work, and they did. Yeah, generally, I really enjoyed this one. I don't know what else to say about it. But again, I will say that if you're kind of like Becca and you like educational things for your kids, I think this is a great film, because this is educational, but not to the point of boringness. And I think it'll hold their attention and probably come out learning something, and maybe even finding a new series of books that they like. It's again, it's a little clunky. And some of the more modern commentary they're trying to make, I don't feel lands as well as they were hoping, but it's still pretty well done, and I fully enjoy it. And it's a film that I hope I can find eventually on DVD, because it's a film I can see just kind of putting on one night when you're stressed and you just need kind of something calming, and again, delightful is the word I use for this one. But yeah, I think this one is well worth seeking out for family viewing. Yeah, just an enjoyable, delightful little film, and I want people to see it and give it its due course. So there you have it. All right, so let's wrap this up. Let's do it. So final grade for the Railway Children (parentheses) Return. I'm feeling generous these days. I'm feeling generous. But I think I'm gonna go with a B+ on this one. Strong B+. Not quite an A. I don't think there's enough in there to make it an A, but story is good. The directing is wonderful. The acting is better than you could ever hope for in a film like this. The score is gorgeous. The score is almost, you can tell this is a smaller film. It was not made for a lot of money. You can tell they're not expecting much of it. But goddamn, the composer is bringing their A game to this one. Excuse me. So yeah, I really dig this one. So I give it a B+, and I advise folks to go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay, so there you have it. Another one in the books, another one for the Gauntlet. So thank you all for joining me. Thanks for coming along. And once again, as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.